Welcome back to another episode of Move with Kyuta Klinger. There are less than 100 people in the world that have climbed all 14 8K summits, and Uta Ibrahimi is one of them. Fresh off having just recently completed her climb up Kanchenjunga, the last 8K mountain, Uta was kind enough to share her thoughts about her incredible achievement, which spans over 9 years. There is a lot to unpack here: how it all started, the risks, her training, how the sport of mountaineering has evolved. Reflecting on our conversation, especially about reaching the summits and also about the journeys themselves, the metaphor, "it's the journey, not the destination," came to my mind. We all have goals or summits that we aim for, and we all are reminded of the journey that ultimately results in change or growth. Goals come and go, whilst the journey continues on, as it does for Uta. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Well, Uta, welcome to Move. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for inviting.
Yes, congratulations on your recent accomplishment. So conquering all the 8K or the 14 8K summits. I want to start off with sort of like what your expectations were, and was it all that you expected it to be?
After completing?
Yes.
You started from the most difficult. Actually, I had no idea that this is how I'm going to feel at the end, to tell you the truth. Like my last climb was Kanchenjunga, the third highest from the 8Ks. And I tried the same peak last year, and when I didn't summit last year, I was so angry. I was like, oh, why? Because, nobody summited. It was some weather problems and team problems, so we couldn't go to the summit. And then this year, when I went back again, I felt like I'm so happy I didn't summit last year, because I have a chance to come back again and climb the same mountain, and it's so beautiful, and I have to spend 2 months on Himalayas, But then, of course, I always pushed myself to go to the summit. I climbed it and summit and then came down. And then it's really a mixed feeling. I have been working so hard for this project. I spent 9 years of my life
It's a good amount of time.
climbing the 14. And then, of course, I'm so happy that I completed, and I'm so happy I have still my fingers and my toes, because, as you know, most of the time people come back without fingers, or maybe a lot of them, they die. But it feels a little bit empty. I think it's kind of, I haven't been much on the media, to tell you the truth, also because I feel a little bit weird after all these years. It feels like I have no goal. Of course, I have lots of other projects. I have lots of other fun things to do, and my job is already lots of enjoyment, but it feels like there is no goal anymore. And it feels happy and sad at the same time. Nepal has been my second home for all these years. I started traveling in Nepal from 2016 with some smaller mountains, and then all these years I went 3 times per year: the spring season, the summer season in Pakistan, and then autumn season, either Tibet or Nepal. But it has been a second home for me. And now I'm very busy working here in the mountains. And I think the part of the reason why I am really pushing myself to do all these guides, all this work that I'm doing, is just that I don't want to be at home and feel like, okay, what's now? What is next? Because I need to come with a goal in life, so then I can feel again, not empty, but I can feel again something else with me.
I imagine because you've dedicated so much of your time, 9 years, that there is, this void, right? And it's still probably, because it's still fresh in terms of you completing this
just
adventure.
A month ago.
And you're processing kind of like this chapter that you just endured, right? And it was multiple adventures within this. There's so much to unpack almost. Yeah. So I wouldn't know where to start, and I can at least imagine how you would be sort of almost a little, let's say, kind of sensing this emptiness, or kind of like, because you gave so much and then now it's supposedly done, and what is next, right? So it's sort of it's totally a moment of kind of reflection that I would think that you just need to take as much time as you need to, right? You mentioned sort of, I mean, obviously being able to come back with all your limbs, all your fingers, you know, in a healthy state is probably one of the most luckiest and fortunate kind of aspects, you know, because I read somewhere where climbing K2, I think it's 1 in 4 do not survive. Everest is roughly 1 in 10, I think. And season dependent, sometimes there's more avalanche, all these things can happen, right? So, and
Annapurna is 1 in 3.
1 in 3. So that is the harshest or the most challenging in that sense. So knowing that there are these, like the odds, right? The chances, has your perspective with sort of, do you feel life and death in a different way? Like, is that something that has changed? Because the thing is, like, I mean, I haven't climbed any of these, you know, nowhere close to, but sort of when there is maybe some kind of incident or whatnot, like, I think it's a bit of human nature where you think like, oh, it probably won't happen to me. You know, there's somehow a defense mechanism, let's say, right? And you are going, you know, kind of into the lion's den each time you climb one of these peaks, right? Where, you know, like, I think everything with experience, like you learn in every 8,000, I learn much more about climb, about life, about this thin line between being alive and, you know, being dead. Like the first time when I climbed Mount Everest, 2017, I mean, I remember like one of the members, he kind of almost died in front of my eyes, and then we had to pass him because, you know, like when we are climbing on these 8,000s, you are kind of in a queue, so you just walk one after the other one. And for me, that was like very, like, it was really bad moment. I couldn't cope with that feeling for such a long time because I always thought maybe I could help, maybe I could do something. What happened with him? How did he, you know, lots of questions. And plus, you understand that there is just a small mistake, or maybe not even a mistake. Maybe it's just your body cannot survive anymore, and then you can just die. The margin for error is so small.
Yeah, right? It's like it takes a second. And then, you know, but like, every year, every coming back on Himalayas, you know, like for me, I always had to train much more than I maybe needed. Like lots of people ask me, why do you need to run every morning and go CrossFit afternoon and then go with the bike 300 kilometers and then go every weekend in the mountains? Because I don't know, you know, when in perfect condition, you can do it even if you're not that fit physically. But sometimes the weather, sometimes crevasses, sometimes avalanches, you need to be 3 times stronger enough. Maybe summit push sometimes is longer than you plan. Like I had summit pushes 35 hours. I couldn't survive this 35 hours without training. So for me, I always come back and I make sure that I do my homework properly. Like I train really hard, so then when I come back, I'm ready for whatever comes. I mean, we had cases. Also in my last climbing Kanchenjunga, we lost one of the members. We had cases in almost every mountain that we lost people. I mean, of course, it's a luck as well, but I believe it's most of the time is training. Because if you're fast enough to go up and down, there is a say in climbing, being fast save your life, which is not the same with driving, but in the climbing it's like that. You need to be very fast to go up in the altitude and come down, because if you stay too much in the altitude, you can just die because you stay too much in the altitude. Like we had the last case, she couldn't come back, and she stayed like 3 days from the summit coming back down to Camp 4. She couldn't reach the Camp 4. But she was very tired, so she couldn't come down. And these cases happens always. So for me, what I learned from all these cases is that you really need to be physically strong, to be mentally in peace, and then to go up and to go down safe.
Yeah, I guess on one end, you want to make sure that you cover the bases that you can. And then nature also has a say, right? Nature doesn't give a shit, right? It dictates everything, and then there is probably a luck to it too, right? So
yeah, sometimes the mountain says no, and then we all had to go down. Like I didn't summit every mountain with the first attempt. I had cases that I tried, I come down, I tried again, come down back. So I had like Dhaulagiri, for example, I tried 3 times, and the third time I summited. So not all the time we could go.
It's never a straightforward journey, is it?
No, never. Oh. Like I would say the mountains which are more popular, like Everest, for example, there are much more people. And Manasulu is one of the mountains that are more people because it's considered as a easy one, and that's not very, very high. It's like 8,100.
That's not very high.
I mean, comparing to the others. So these mountains are, you can find more people and climbers, you know, who are attempting the summit. So if it's more people, then it's a little bit easier to go because the trail is open. There is fixing rope. You know, like if you're walking in the snow or in the glacier or in the ice, it's much easier to put the step on the steps rather than to make your own. But the other mountains are much more wild. Like maybe sometimes you are only 4 people in the team. Like Dhaulagiri, I summited 2 Sherpa, 2 members. We were only 4. So we had to make our rope. We have to break the trail. It was such a long summit push. So it's totally different, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Like that's, you bring up sort of a point, I think, from the outside looking in, the average person probably just thinks like, oh, you are, I mean, of course it's a challenging kind of endeavor, but people think you just go up. But I was reading, I think, the last summit last year, which you could not because there was, I think, the line was not fixed or so.
Yeah.
Like, So how much are you dependent on sort of like there's the companies that do this, right? The expedition, like the Sherpas, if I'm not mistaken,
Sherpas,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that is sort of, I think most of us are completely oblivious that we don't know that there are again, if they don't lay down the path, then you cannot go, right? And then you just mentioned for some, you are actually doing that yourselves too, right? So like in that, with that in context, like which climbs were the most challenging, or, you know, I mean, they're all probably challenging in their own right, but like the ones that are, as you mentioned, like wilder, like which ones were those? Like?
Normally, all the mountains in Pakistan. I mean, K2 is also fixed, most of the route, because again, it's very popular. But the others, like Broad Peak or Gasher Burum 2 and Gasher Burum 1. For example, Gasher Burum 1 I climbed on 2019, and there was no fixing line at all. Like, we had to gather our rope because, of course, I always carry like 20 meters of rope with me in my bag in any case if I need to rappel myself or if I need to make a rescue or something, I have my own rope. So, for example, G1, we collected all the rope and then we fixed our line because we were only 8 people on the team. Or like G2, I climbed 2 years ago. There was no fixing, so we had to go on a short rope with the Sherpas. Or like, okay, Kanchenjunga, this time was fixed, but last time wasn't fixed. And some of the mountains you can go without fixing, but you have to be connected with another person because of the crevasses, because of the technical part. But Kanche, it's not possible. It is possible for some people, like who are very technical
Experience,
climbers. But like for most of us, it's not possible. So that's why we couldn't go summit push, because they didn't fix the line. Not like break the trail, but fixing the line means like there is a rope and then there are anchors. So the rope protects you from dying. If you fall, you're still on the rope. If you fall in the crevasses, you're still on the rope. So that's why personally I didn't risk to go like without fixed rope. But of course, some of the mountains, like Dhaulagiri, for example, we were only 4 people and it wasn't fixing, but we went 4 people in a rope. So we still would support each other. Like in case of somebody's falling, there will be 3 other people helping this person, or the opposite. So that's why all the mountains, like sometimes, for example, K2 or Nanga Parbat, they are mountains which are very difficult technically. They are more steep. There is more rocks. When it's more rocks, it's more difficult to climb. But when it's fixing, it makes it easier. Or like Kasharburum 1, technically is not difficult mountain, but it is more difficult because there is no fixing. So also depends how much support you have on the trail and how much support you have. If it's bigger team, it's easier again, because you don't have to break the trail. Like now, for example, in Kanchenjunga, I was in the first team to summit. And me and my Sherpa, we were the first to break the trail, to fix the trail. There were also a few other Sherpas, of course, but like we were like the first team. So for us, from the Camp 4 to the summit, it took 20 hours. And for the second team and for the third team, it took them from Camp 4 to the summit and Camp 4, 17 hours, which is much, much less than us. So, you know, like the mountains are difficult or easy, also depends from the condition, depends from the team, depends from the year as well, because some years they are more dry. Sometimes when it's more dry for a specific mountain is better. Sometimes it's not good. So, you know, like all these years I had to learn a lot.
You have to be as versatile as one can be, because also I guess, you know, I'm learning a little bit where there's many or different types of climbing as well, right?
Yeah.
And then you probably have your preference in a certain type of mountain versus not. And then I guess all the elements come into play, whether there's a lot of ice, snow, is it windy, not, all these things, right? So
Yeah, I mean, like when you said there are different ways, I really enjoyed this conversation, because normally I don't do interviews like this about the, you know, I see that you read about the climbs and it's really nice. So, you know, there are ways to climb 8,000s, okay? So there are some climbers who go themselves, like they don't employ Sherpas, but then they are very strong or like very good technically, they go themselves. And then there are the others who, they come in the base camp, they don't employ Sherpas or guides, and then they follow us, which I personally always had Sherpa on the climbs. In Pakistan, I didn't have Sherpas, I had local altitude porters. And then they follow us and they use the Sherpa lines, they use the Sherpa breaking the trail. So basically, they just go behind us, which is quite similar to what I do.
okay.
But comparing to them, I decide to have a Sherpa and to pay a Sherpa. It's the same how I feel when I'm guiding at home. When people come here and pay me to guide, it's the same. I help a local economy. So I feel like for all these climbs, I would have been strong enough to climb on my own, maybe 4 or 5 of the mountains, because, you know, I know it's not very difficult, there is no steep sections, but I always prefer to have a Sherpa, to help local economy, to pay them, because they live by doing this. And besides that, if I have any emergency, there will be somebody to help me. In most of the cases, these people who are going themselves, in the end of the day, my Sherpa would help them to go down because they never had Sherpas. And then there are people like me who we climb with oxygen and we climb with Sherpas. And then lots of the time now medias are writing a lot about this topic, like how having a Sherpa and using oxygen, it's something like it's easy to do it. You know, like I had to
Yeah,
face
I
a
mean-
lot with this topic and with these comments, like, you know.
wow,
But
okay.
also in this box, when there are people or climbers who are climbing with Sherpa and oxygen, there are many, you know, like there are people who carry their bags. Like my bag is, I cannot exaggerate, I cannot say 25 kilograms, but sometimes it can be 18, 19 kilograms.
I was about to ask,
With
already
all
the rope
the-
sounded heavy enough, you know?
Yeah, rope and food, and you know, like for 3-4 days, you need a lot of things: sleeping bags, down suit. They are very heavy. So normally, I try to do my work, like carry everything what I need personally, and then Sherpa, of course, his job is to carry the oxygen. So that's the only thing that they carry to the camp for. But then there are also other climbers who they come on 8,000s and they wear crampons for the first time on the climb, or like they walk only with water bottle, and Sherpas carry everything. But now what's happening is that the media, when they talk about these topics, they put everyone in one box. Like the ones who climb with oxygen and Sherpa are here, which it doesn't mean that, you know, I walk only with a water bottle, you know, but like, for me, it bothered a lot, especially the last few years, because like 17, 18, and 19, I wasn't so much informed about, you know, these differences on climbing. I would see people climbing, enjoying more life, not having this, I'm climbing stronger, I'm not using Sherpa. But then it kind of started a trend on trying to complete 14 as fast as possible, trying to complete 14.
There was that famous documentary by the
Nims.
Nimza, is it?
Yeah,
Right? On
yeah.
Netflix, right?
Yeah, I think when he came in the scene,
Mm-hmm.
things has changed quite a lot. Like you have people now who they just want to finish and then there is a girl, Christine Harila. Both of them are my friends. We have met many times. We have climbed together many times. She completed in 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, but it has changed. And for me, for one thing, I'm happy I finished the 8,000s, is that I'm not part of this anymore, because it has become more like a commercial.
I can see that, like all of a sudden, like the purity is gone in
Yeah.
terms of it's manifested itself or changed itself into something different
Yeah,
anymore,
it is.
right? And it strikes me also as possibly, like, again, this is from a perspective outside looking in, where when it becomes a competition or about records, it becomes a little bit more egotistical.
Yeah.
And it's an environment where you can't let the ego dictate, because as you said, the margin for error is so small, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost, and if someone is racing, then they're going to try to overtake, or that's where, you know, then maybe, or
Not just
these kind of things probably happen, right?
Yeah, like we had a case on Shishapangma. Shishapangma is the 14 from the 8,000s. It's in Tibet, China. And 2 years ago, Shishapangma, it's a mountain that it's not difficult. Like technically, it's super nice mountain. It's so beautiful. Like you never feel tired somehow because it's gentle up. It's amazing, beautiful mountain. But it is known for avalanches. And the first year I attempted Shishapangma, we were like first team to reach base camp. We were so much enjoying. I was with an Italian, very old climber. It was his last. There were so many people because China closed the mountain for a few years and then it opens. And when it opened this time, there were many climbers who were coming to climb because it was their only last 8,000s. And then we had 2 Americans, ladies, who came. They did like for the whole year 5 or 6, 8,000, and they came to Shishapangma. And they were competing. I mean, they said no, but in a way they were competing who is going first to the top, because they would be the first American to complete it 8,000 meter. And we really, like me and the Italian climber Mario and Romanian climber Adrian, we were in the same team. We were like, we don't want to go because it was snowing for the last 3 days. We know that the mountain is very dangerous. We knew the condition. But then, you know, if you don't go with the main team, with a big team, then most probably you're not going to be able to go summit push. So sometimes your decision, in this case, my decision was done because I had no choice. So I had to follow the big team. But comparing to all of them, they left and then they were just rushing to go to the summit. I was the last on the queue. And I really didn't feel I want to go. Normally, like, I'm always the first ready. I put the shoes, crampons, I'm ready to go. This time, I put one shoes, I go in the sleeping bag. And my Sherpa is like, what's happening with you? You're never like this, you know, because I'm very active. I you know, full of energy and let's go. And, you know, I try to bring everybody. But in this case, I said, no, I don't want to go. I feel there is something wrong. But then, whatever, I started walking up. When we reach Camp 3, maybe like 200 meters more higher.
How high
boom,
is this? Like
7,500. The
Camp,
first
'cause
avalanche.
Camp 3 just sounds like Camp 3 for some of us.
No,
I'm
it
not
was
really sure how high it is.
7,576.
Okay.
And like normally for the summit push, we would start walking at 6 afternoon, 6, 7. In this case, we started walking at 3 in the morning, which is too late because, again, it felt something is wrong. Because these both teams, they were competing, who is going first, and we were just lost behind everyone. And then the first avalanche happened, a big avalanche. It took 2 people. It took 3 people, but one went out. He survived. And 2 of them, one American girl and her Sherpa, they were both dead. And I just see like this in front of my eyes. And of course, I cannot go summit push anymore. I tell my Sherpa, let's go down and try to help them. But once we reached the bodies, they were gone.
Yeah,
they died. And then my Sherpa stayed there to help the team to bring back the bodies. And I said, I'm going to base camp. I'm just going back. And I started going back. And the other team, they would still go up for the summit push. Wow. After like an hour maybe, another avalanche took another 2 persons, the other American and her Sherpa. The bodies were never found. So for me, this was like, it was the greatest lesson for everyone who climbed on Himalayas, not to compete. You know, for me, it took me like 6 weeks when I come home. I don't know, I feel like I'm destroyed. I don't want to climb never anymore. Like, I was destroyed totally, mentally, physically. I couldn't make my body like together. I had to go a lot of physio and a lot of sessions and talks and, you know, seeing people dying in front of your eyes because of competition. But after this, I think people learn something, you know, but we needed a case to lose 4 people. 4 of them were my good friends. We climbed many years together, especially one of the Sherpas, Lama, who was such a great man. Like, but for him, it was a work. He had to go up.
Is there, so like, first of all, like, I think it's great to kind of, and I'm learning, you know, in real time here where, you know, there's so many different, let's say, subcategories of how you climb. Like, as you said, like with oxygen, without, with Sherpa, without, there's all these different kind of nuances, right? Like,
yeah.
But in terms of like, so you've done all your climbs with a Sherpa?
Yeah.
So that...
I have done only 1 mountain with a Pakistani porter and 1 mountain without oxygen.
Okay. So then that relationship with that Sherpa is also like the chemistry and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, I think like that's something that I'd love to talk about as well.
Personally, I have my first Sherpa and kind of a teacher for me. When I climbed with him 2016 and 17 on Everest, Tendi Sherpa, he was like a climbing partner, a teacher, a friend, a family, because, you know, it was my first time to be there and I really needed to have somebody, he even was in Kosovo. We climbed here together and we went to Albania. He visited my friend. I visit his family. Like also now when I go to Nepal, I visit his, he has a wife and 2 kids. So we are like a family. Because that time for me, I needed to trust somebody to climb together. Because
that's like a must, right?
Yeah,
regardless.
It is. Yeah. Like later changed. Because then for some of the climbs, I would have a Sherpa that maybe, I didn't know him before. We never climbed before. Like some of the climbs I did like that. It wasn't necessarily to have a good relationship like friends or family or, some of the climbs, he would carry things and then I would share a tent. When I used to climb with a Mexican friend, Viridiana, we climbed all the time together. So we had the tents together and Sherpa would be somebody who would help us carrying the tent and oxygen, but not really more than that. But then the last few climbs I did with Lakpatemba, a very good friend too. He is coming in Kosovo this winter. So then it was different, like, because we make decisions together, we make the plans together. It feels like there is a climbing partner, It's not just somebody who is there for you, but it's a climbing partner that you share the food, you cook together, and then, you make decisions. When I said he had to, is because climbing for them is a job. Like, I also had clients sometimes here, then if I tell them we are not going to the top because it's difficult condition, they would try to push. But like in this case, I have worked so many years, I have done school for guiding, so I can be strong enough to tell him, no, we're not going, we're going down because of the condition. But some of the times, Sherpas, they don't.
Oh, okay. So there's no objective reality, because sometimes, it's like, hey, the conditions are X, Y, and Z. This is really dangerous or so, but
they don't, because sometimes they don't speak very good English. Not all the Sherpas have done guiding school. There are some Sherpas that I have climbed that I have taught them how to do basic things on a rope or something like this. Not all of them are well experienced and have enough knowledge for this.
But they must still be then physical specimens.
Physical, they are very strong.
In terms of being able to just go up to that
but
altitude.
like most of them, I have never seen them training. Like, because they're just strung by the genes. They are born in 4,000. And their
that's their norm almost, I guess.
Yeah,
right? So
like it's like doesn't matter how much I train. Like I'm much more stronger till I go to 4,000, but then after that they can just fly, because it's the altitude. It's also connected with the DNA. It's not just how much you train, but also like how strong genes you have. Like where does your family belong? Like where did they grow up? Normally, all the Sherpas, because Sherpas, they live in Himalayas. So most of them, they were born on the altitude. Their parents too, they live in the altitude. Like, for example, I can say now for myself, 2017, first time, it took me so long to be acclimatized. I had terrible pains on my head. I felt all the time dizzy. Now, if I go back, I feel totally fine. I don't have any more pain or like. Of course, it takes more time to acclimatize. But like Manasulu, 3 years ago, I climbed in 6 days, up and down, without any acclimatization. I would never be able to do that in 2017, never, or I would be dead. Yes, but it means what I'm saying is that for them, they stay so much in the altitude, plus the genes. That's why they are like machines.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a real photo, but I think every now and then you see like this photo of the climber with their oxygen mask or like kind of smiling like they made
Sherpa smoking
with yes, and it's like what the hell's going on here? So speaking of then sort of the training that you kind of put in. You mentioned like you don't know how long, right? It could be 6 days or it could be months in terms of like
the climb.
depending on all these conditions, you know, like with the Sherpa, like the route you take, all these kind of things. So like maybe can you describe a little bit of like how you prepare yourself, and also does the preparation significantly change for like, is it become more specific for an 8K summit versus?
Till 2018, I used to do only runnings, and in the summer, I normally go do cycling, like
when you say running,
distance.
is this like trail running?
Trail running.
Okay.
Yeah, I only do trail running. I try to gain like 300 meters per, let's say, 10 kilometers. I do normally the Gërmia loop. And of course, like 2 to 3 days per week hikings, but like with the heavy bags and fast hikes, fast going up, fast going down, and then sometimes rock climbing, and then in the winter I do ice climbing as well. All kind of trainings that I might need to use it during the climbs. But most of the time, till 2018, I train on conditioning. And then I was preparing for Lhotse, one of the 8,000s, which is near to Everest. And before that, I started to go CrossFit.
Okay.
And with Leard, with the coach, we tried to make a program. And he understood my needs, like what I need to train more. And then when I went back after 3 months of like morning running and then afternoon CrossFit, when I went back to Lhotse, the Lhotse face is like 1,000 meters of vertical. I mean, not 90 degrees, but it has sections 60, 70, 50, depends. But it's very long face, and it's steep, and it's ice, and a blue ice. When it's blue ice, it's very difficult to walk. I just felt like I'm flying because of all the trainings that I combine with CrossFit. That's where I really understood that it's unnecessary to combine the trainings. Because, of course, to climb on 8,000, first you need to be to have endurance. Like, sometimes I go on hikes of 2 days. Maybe I sleep few hours, but most of the time I try to go on 2 days without stopping. Or like ultra marathons. I also do ultra marathons. This helps me to, to train also my mind, to be awake, to push myself. But then CrossFit helped me a lot, carrying my heavy bags. Like first 2015, I was in Mont Blanc. And I remember that time we had bags like for 3 days, sleeping bags and everything else. It was one of my first experience on that level, to be for a few days out and carry everything myself. I had so much pain on my shoulder and on my arms and on my body because I was trained enough on legs or like conditioning, but I didn't feel strong enough to carry a bag.
So that strength training element was a bit of a missing piece during your early days. Huh?
Yeah, it was. It was really important for me. Now that's why I try to combine all of them. Like, for example, but I still have, like, I would say more 60, 70% on running and conditioning training. And then the other one is strength, which is CrossFit. And also depends from the year. Sometimes I push a little bit more on outside. Like now, for example, I like to do more runs because it's beautiful outside. But like in the winter, maybe I train more CrossFit.
Okay. Now, in terms of, because it's like with these 8K mountains, oxygen levels are very low. Yes, you have the oxygen tanks, but is there something that you do for like hypoxic training, like
No, I never did. No.
Okay.
No, I never did. What I try to do is before each climb, like I stay in the altitude more here around Balkans, like Kosovo and Macedonia. And I go up and sleep in 2,500, 600 on the peaks. Or we have a home in Shar Mountains in 1,800. Once when I climbed Lenin Peak, I climbed almost myself without any support. That time I didn't employ any guide. It's 7,200. So I stayed like 2 weeks in 1,800, and every day I would go up and down for the training. And when I went on Lenin Peak, I didn't feel the altitude at all. So I just felt like also staying for longer time in 1,800 to 2,000, it helps a lot.
There was a carryover.
Yeah.
It like helped you out because.
But there are cases with these tents that people they rent hypoxico tent. They rent it at home, but I never tried it, and for sure it helps. But for me, again, climbing on 8,000 was more about, going there, being more in the mountains, going up and down, doing all the acclimatization properly, enjoying the mountains, and not so much of, like going up for 5 days. Like Manaslu, it happened like that because I had no other choice. I had to go and finish it. But otherwise, I like to stay more in the mountains. We pay a lot, we pay a lot of money. Why not just to be here, be present? I never, like in the camp, sometimes we talk and then lots of people, they're like, oh, I don't want to go up. I want to go only for the summit push. For me, every moment there is a time, I would just go up instead of just staying in the camp. So like in Kanchenjunga, maybe this year I went 6-7 times just to Camp 1 and down, just for training, just for enjoying. When the mountain is safe, I would prefer to go up and acclimatize and enjoy rather than just wait for the summit push. Because there are people who comes just for the summit push. They use the tents at home and then they just go summit push.
Now, one thing is after, because these expeditions are days on the short end, weeks, months on the long end, sort of as you get closer, the fatigue is increasing, you're getting tired, right?
Yeah.
Like patience is maybe running out, when you wake up, the schedule is also irregular, right? It's not like, I wake up in the morning, I climb, at nighttime I go to sleep, kind of. It's never
the same, yeah.
So like what happens like when you are in your tent or so, first of all, like sometimes you probably don't even sleep well, right? Because it's
the first days, like when
excited.
we reach base camps, like so how it goes, normally the first few days we are walking on the villages till we go up to base camp, and then once we reach base camp, it always feels like home because we all have our own tents. We put pictures and we make it nicer because that's our home for a month, okay? And the first few days in the beginning, we don't sleep good because of the lack of oxygen. You still feel it, and then plus we have nothing to do because when we are resting, we can just stay in base camp. We cannot go up because we are still on the process of acclimatization. The worst scenario is when we have to wait for more than 3 days, which sometimes happens. Like in one expedition, we kind of were stuck in base camp for 12 days. It was snowing that much. So every time, whenever we would go out of the tent, we had to take snow with a shovel to go to the dining or to go to the kitchen or to go to the toilet. So, like in these cases, it's a lot of mental.
Yeah, you have to kind of stay prepared at all times, right?
Because the body is in pain as well, like not so much moving. And we try to do, personally, I try to do a lot of stretching in the tent and then watch movies sometimes and then read books and then, nothing else to do. We are of course, we are a group of people and the energy, sometimes the dynamics are good, but sometimes we have somebody that it makes problems, or sometimes somebody has some problems and brings it in the group. So, it's it's a lot of mental game as well to try to make yourself calm and then stay focused to the goal. Lots of people leave expeditions when it comes to this case, we had one guy, Brett, in one expedition. Just before the summit push, he left. He said, I cannot. We stayed a month and a half on expedition. We finished the acclimatization. We went up, down. It snowed 2 meters in base camp. And then he just said, I'm leaving. My brain cannot cannot handle this, so I'm just leaving. And then we went summit, Poshbe summited. So it's a lot of, like trying, you have to make yourself calm and stay focused on the goal and then be prepared for everything. So it's not always easy and fun. Lots of the time we spent week without shower. Lots of the time, like maybe Gasharburum 1, I think. For 2 months, I didn't talk with my family at all. We didn't have phone, I didn't have internet, I didn't have Garmin.
Cut off, basically.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like being for 2 months, it looks easier before you experience it. But then when you are there, you know what it really means. Like being away totally from everybody, and then being in a group of people that you have never met before. Because I have never climbed with a climbing partner. I always went alone, and then I made friends on base camp and then friends on climbing. So, yeah, it's not easy, huh?
There's a lot of elements that come into play, and they're also ever changing. It's so dynamic. It's so... You mentioned sort of how much these expeditions cost, like are very expensive, right? So like what is a ballpark figure? Each mountain I imagine is a bit different and also 6 days versus a couple months, that's also going to impact it too, right? Probably.
Actually, it's the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like on all these expeditions, there are some fixed fees.
Right.
Like you have to pay, for example, for Everest, it's $11,000. The fee that you pay to the country, and then there are some fees for the national park, and then there are some fees for the cleaning. So there is a fixed fee for each mountain, and then depends how far is the mountain from the road, from the base, how much transport you're using, and how much people are carrying things to go to base camp. Then it's also part of like an element that makes expeditions cheaper or more expensive.
Okay.
So I would say the cheapest maybe is around $10,000 to $12,000, and the most expensive, which is Everest and K2, could be around $35,000. But of course, nowadays you have the basic package, and then you have a more expensive package, and then you have VVVIP package, which is around $200,000.
What does that include?
Now it's super crazy with this VVIP packages. You don't have a small tent, but you have a bigger tent. You don't sleep on a floor, but you sleep on an elevated bed. There you have a heating inside. You have humid inside, like a machine that makes it humid because it's very dry.
Oh, wow.
And then you have helicopters as much as you want to go to the city, to Kathmandu and come back. So it has, that's why I'm happy I finished. It has become a little bit too crazy with all these VVVIP, that it doesn't feel like you're climbing a mountain anymore.
Right.
Or like there were cases that people would fly from Camp 2 just because they wanted a pizza.
Wow.
In the city. So, but this happens on Everest, not in other mountains.
Right, because that is sort of still the crown jewel that the one, let's say, even non-climbers want to try to attempt to be able to say, like, I did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like different mountains, as I said, different, but I just showed the cheapest and the most expensive one. So
Okay.
Depends how you want to climb.
Right.
I climbed always in the minimum.
Okay.
I used always less oxygen, less support, less everything. The smallest tent, the cheapest tent. I didn't care. For me, important was to be safe. I would pay for safety, but I wouldn't pay for luxury because I don't need a luxury in the mountains. I mean, nowhere. I don't need luxury here too. So.
Okay. Taking a step back, sort of, we were chatting briefly before we came into this room about how, you were once working in a corporate a job similar to myself. Sort of like, can you maybe, because I think it's always interesting in terms of sort of, pursuing, let's say, your true passion, if you can call it that, but then often we find ourselves maybe we're scared to do it for whatever reason, making that transition, or to do your passion or pursue it, you have to pay a certain tax, and that is maybe in the form of like, okay, I have to, I don't earn as much, or I have to, there are changes that or maybe even sacrifices that you might have to, right? So the question I want to ask sort of is like, knowing that you were doing whilst you were doing both, was there like a moment kind of where you were like, okay, I really want to just go all in on this?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
I just said I'm done. I had a moment when I did Mont Blanc 2015, and I used to work in the marketing agency Carota, and I came back in the office, and I think I spent like 3-4 days. I'm trying to come back in the office. I mean, of course, I had a very good job, very good position. I was a director of the company for the last few years. And then I just told my friend, my boss, Fisi, I said, I don't know, I cannot come back. I just feel like I don't want to, because I've spent 12 years working on the same industry, and I felt like, I'm doing great. I think I was good on what I was doing it. But it just, the mountains brought something else in my life, or in my eyes. I just wanted to be as much as possible the rest of my life in the nature. So when I was a kid, we used to go camping with my parents every summer holiday. So we were so much in the nature. And then I came to Pristina to do the school, and then the work, and then all this, life, very dynamic, with a lot of parties as well. Yeah, I used to work in the festivals as well. So it just felt like I'm losing the connection with myself. So I don't know what I want to be when I grew up. That was like a thing that it was all the time in my mind. So I just didn't know where's the path anymore. And I just quit. I took my bike. I did like 2 weeks around the Balkans on my own with my tent. That time I still did some biking and some running and some hiking, but not like all in. And then I came back, and then I just started to work as a guide, and then I decided to have my own guiding company, 2016. And I wasn't earning, actually. I would earn 10 times less than I would earn in a marketing agency. But that didn't bother, because I had a vision.
Time,
yeah.
Too, right? In terms of like time well spent. Not that wasn't well spent working the corporate job, but
no, that was a great time in my life. But I just felt like that's it. It's enough. And once I did this trip with my bike, I would meet a lot of locals in the villages, and I was like, I started to learn more about people, about my country, about my nation, about, because at some moment we forget. The life is so busy, we forget to come back in the fundamentals. And then, it just, working as a guide, I had to find a way to follow my hobby and to be able to live by that. So that's why I started to work as a guide. And then, then the big dream for climbing on Himalayas and on Everest started later. So, it was a great decision. I didn't get too much support that time, because we have a say in Albanian. We say, when somebody is crazy, we say he took the way to the mountains. So it's like a kamar malin.
How fitting for your journey.
So lots of people were joking with me. But I think I always had the vision that I want to do something more with my life. And especially when I started to climb on Himalayas, I really felt like I want to do something more from my country. And here I am.
Yeah, that's really
living happy.
Amazing. That's really interesting. Also, like how that climb to Mont Blanc was like a bit of a catalyst, right?
It's
and
like
it
a
kind
big
of the first domino, and because I think there are, my situation was a little bit different, but I think some of the sentiment is similar. Where like, yes, there was this disconnect, and I was like, okay, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, maybe opportunity, or let's say this thing that kind of finally makes you decide can come from an unexpected kind of place, right? And then it's funny how like you figure it out as you go, right? Whereas like maybe something that was preventing you before was like actually these questions that you didn't have the answer with, and but you're like, all right, once we get going, then you just it's like, all right, one step at a time kind of thing. So you mentioned you're doing your guide. As we slowly kind of wrap up this conversation, it'd be great to just kind of also sort of like how you were spending your time right now. Obviously this is a moment of reflection at post 9 years of climbing all these crazy summits, but what are you kind of focusing your energy, your time on, and sort of if you have any next moves?
No, just right now I am working a lot. Besides guiding, I'm also working with Uta Foundation, which is a non-profit organization. We do projects a lot with kids and youngsters. We have worked from 2019. We have 2 books. One is Uta and the Mountains, which talks about, it's a book for kids with illustration. We love them so much. Lots of kids actually love them. It's a story about me climbing on Everest. And then the last book, it was a few months ago, Uta in Çfarë, because everybody knows Çfarë is my love. So Çfarë Mountains, I spend most of my time. And we are working on a Via Dinarica. It's a hiking trail that is in the west of Kosovo. So this is something that we do through the foundation, and now we are closing this Via Dinarica project, and we are working on a festival in Peja. So there are just so many things that I will be busy by the end of September with the festival and the running competition that we organize in Çfarë, and then guiding, and then let's see. I still didn't have time to make plans for myself, but I think, of course, I want to finish all these projects that I'm involved, and then maybe I do something else.
Sounds like already, you're keeping well busy with all these different
Yeah,
projects with your foundation and all that. So thank you again, Uta, for this conversation.
Thank you.
And all the
well.
best.
Thank you.